I never thought I would become the neighborhood icon for putting a live snake in someone's hands, but desperate times call for desperate actions. When I first moved into Oak Estates last summer, I was so excited about my cute little colonial with the perfect porch for enjoying my morning coffee, the kind of place where packages wait securely for you to get home from work. Or so I thought. It started with small things. A set of kitchen towels I ordered, then some books. By the third week, the limited edition sneakers I had waited months for disappeared right off my porch within an hour of delivery. I was beyond frustrated. We are talking about a supposedly secure neighborhood with the homeowner association fee that made my eyes tear. When I signed the paperwork, maybe it is neighborhood kids, my sister suggested when I called her complaining. But my gut told me something else was going on, especially after I met Diane Harrison, our homeowner association president, during my first community gathering. Picture this bottle, blonde hair in the perfect suburban bob, designer clothes that screamed, "I need to speak to your supervisor," and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. The way she looked at me when I brought up the missing packages, I swear the temperature in the room dropped 10. "Well, perhaps if you checked your mail more frequently," she said, glancing around the room to make sure everyone caught her disrespect, "or maybe you should have packages held at the post office, like responsible homeowners do." The smirks from her little group of neighborhood followers made my blood boil, but it was when she added, "We have not had any reports of theft in Oak Estates in the 15 years I have been president that my suspicions really started." The way she emphasized president like she was talking about being the leader of the free world. I nodded and smiled, but inside I was connecting clues. The timing of my deliveries, the way her eyes narrowed when I mentioned certain packages. How? She seemed to know exactly what had gone missing without me saying. Call it intuition or just plain common sense. But I knew Diane was behind this. That night, I sat on my porch watching her perfect white colonial across the street, and 2 doors down, the pristine lawn, the seasonal wreath on the door that probably got changed monthly, the little flag of authority her homeowner association position gave her. And I made a promise to myself. I was going to catch her in the act. If you are watching this right now, drop a comment letting me know where you are viewing from. I am always curious to see how far these neighborhood nightmare stories travel. Plus, I would love to know if anyone else has dealt with the homeowner association dictator like Diane. The next day, I called the local police station to report the thefts. The officer who took my call sounded uninterested, as he explained they could not do much without evidence. "Get a doorbell camera," he suggested before hanging up. Fair enough. That afternoon, I installed not just a doorbell camera, but also a small hidden camera disguised as a bird feeder with a clear view of my porch. I was not playing around anymore. These packages meant something to me, especially since I was trying to make this new house feel like home. 2 days later, my waiting paid off. I was at work when my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I nearly dropped my coffee watching the live feed. Diane Harrison, in her crisp white capri pants and baby blue polo, marching up to my porch like she possessed the place. She glanced around quickly, tucked my Amazon package under her arm, and walked away with the boldness of someone who has gotten away with this routine many times before. "You have got to be kidding me," I whispered, ignoring my co-worker's puzzled stare. The timestamp showed 2:17 p.m., coincidentally right when most of the neighborhood was at work. I watched the footage 3 more times, my hand shaking with a mixture of confirmation and rage. That evening, marched straight to the police station with my footage. The same officer from the phone call reviewed it, nodding slowly. "Look, and see, that is your neighbor taking a package," he said, leaning back in his chair. "But without proof of what was inside, she could claim you asked her to grab it, or that she was moving it to shield it from rain." "It was not raining," I protested. He sighed. "You would be surprised how these neighborhood disputes play out in court. Get more concrete evidence, multiple incidents, proof of what is inside. Maybe catch her opening something. Then we can talk about pressing charges." Walking home, I felt utterly defeated. The system that was supposed to defend me was basically telling me to catch her red-handed, opening my mail, a federal offense, before they would take action. How was I supposed to do that? unless I somehow followed her into her house. That is when I remembered my old college roommate, Mike. He had studied herpetology and now worked at the exotic reptile sanctuary one town over. We had stayed in touch, and I had helped him move just last month. I owed him nothing, but he definitely owed me a favor. Hey, Mike, I texted quick hypothetical. Question: how risky would a common corn snake actually be if someone unexpectedly found one in, say, a package on their kitchen counter? His reply came almost immediately. Non-venomous, mostly harmless, might bite if alarmed, but feels like a paper cut. Why? Planning something I should know about? I smiled at my phone as a plan began developing in my mind. If the police would not help me, and the homeowner association was run by the very person stealing from me, maybe it was time for some creative problem solving. I would need a package, a snake, and a way to make sure Diane opened it at home rather than discarding the content somewhere else. Have any of you ever had to take matters into your own hands when the normal methods failed you? What would you have done in my position? Mike agreed to meet me that weekend at the reptile sanctuary. I am not asking questions, he said as he led me through rows of glass enclosures. But whatever you are planning, just remember that animal welfare comes first. The sanctuary smelled like heat lamps and cedar chips. Mike stopped in front of a container holding a gorgeous orange and red corn snake, about 3D long. This is Merrill, he said. She is the gentlest snake we have. Great with kids during educational programs. Never bitten anyone. She is perfect, I whispered, watching her elegant motions. She is also due to be transported to another sanctuary next week, so I can loan her to you for exactly 48 hours. For your mission. He raised his eyebrows. Just promise me nobody gets hurt, including Merrill. I explained my full plan, and to my relief, Mike did not just approve, he actually enhanced it together. We designed a special package box with a lightweight inner section that would keep Merrill comfortable, but also allow her to emerge dramatically when open. There were air holes hidden under the packing label and a special water gel pack to keep her moisturized. This is basically a first-class snake travel crate disguised as an Amazon delivery, Mike said, admiring our creation. Merrill will be fine in here for hours. Back home, prepared for Monday's delivery, I ordered a fake high-end watch from Amazon, the kind of thing that would come in a small, expensive-looking box. Diane would not be able to resist. Then I added 2 more hidden cameras, one on my neighbor's elm tree with permission, and another in my front bushes, all with perfect sight lines to my porch. For a moment on Sunday night, I questioned if I was going too far. Was putting a snake in a package crossing some moral line? But then I remembered the missing birthday gift for my mother that never arrived, my neighbor's sympathetic but helpless gesture when I mentioned missing packages, and Diane's smug smile at the last homeowner association meeting when she announced a new community rule that seemed targeted specifically at my house. Monday morning, I called in sick to work and waited. Mike arrived at 10 o'clock a.m. with Merrill in a small carrier. She had breakfast yesterday, so she is not hungry, he assured me as we carefully transferred her to our special package. Just remember, you have to retrieve her within 3 hours maximum. I nodded gently, placing her into the modified box. She coiled comfortably in the space we had created, her scales catching the glow. I am sorry to involve you in this, Merrill, I whispered, but you are about to help serve some long overdue justice. At 11:30 I placed the package on my porch, made sure all cameras were recording, then drove my car around the block and parked where I could see my house, but would not be noticed. Then I settled in to observe. Diane was timely, I will give her that. At 2:15 p.m., her white Lexus SUV cruised slowly down our street. She parked 3 houses down, not in front of my place, of course, and casually walked toward my porch as if she belonged there. Through my binoculars, I watched her eyes lock onto the small package. With the premium watch retailer's label clearly shown, she picked it up, shook it gently. We had secured Merrill's compartment so this would not bother her, and tucked it into her designer tote bag. My heart pounded as she walked back to her car. This was really happening. She was taking our snake package right back to her house. Exactly as planned. I texted Mike, Package acquired. Target returning to home base. Have you ever set something in motion and then suddenly realize there is no turning back? That moment when you know the wheels are turning and all you can do is observe. Because I was about to witness something unforgettable, I waited 15 minutes before driving to Diane Street, parking behind a landscaping truck where I could see her house but remain concealed. Mike joined me, bringing a backup carrier for Meryl's safe retrieval. Remember, he warned we go in as soon as she discovers Meryl. Not a minute later my phone pinged. All 3 cameras were now live streaming to my screen. I had positioned one to capture Diane's porch through her front window, assuming she would open the package in her living room or kitchen. Now, all we could do was anticipate. What if she does not open it right away? Mike worried, checking his watch. Trust me, I assured him. Diane cannot resist instant gratification. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, movement appeared on my screen. Diane walked into her living room, package in hand, and sat elegantly on her white sofa. She was still in her outdoor clothes, too eager to even change first. I turned up the volume as she examined the box, admiring the high-end watch company logo I had carefully printed on the shipping label. This is it, I whispered to Mike. We watched as Diane sliced the tape with a letter opener, her movements careful and precise. She folded back the outer flaps with the expectation of someone opening an expensive gift. What happened next was better than anything I could have imagined. As Diane pulled back the final layer of tissue paper, Meryl raised her head curiously for one perfect second. Diane and the snake made eye contact, woman and reptile in a frozen moment of mutual surprise. Then chaos erupted. Diane's scream was so loud, my phone speaker glitched. She launched backward, flipping completely over the arm of her white sofa in a move that would impress an Olympic gymnast. The package tumbled to the floor, and Meryl slithered gracefully onto Diane's pristine cream carpet. My Gucci, my carpet, help, snake, snake. Diane's shrieks reached pitches I did not think human vocal cords could produce. She scrambled onto her coffee table, still screaming, and pulled out her phone. But what happened next took our revenge to an unexpected twist. As Diane frantically called for help, the camera caught something in the background that made my jaw drop. There on built-in shelves behind her living room sofa were dozens of open packages and items. I recognized my missing sneakers still in their box, my mother's birthday crystal figurine, books, electronics, even the custom doormat I had ordered with my last name on it. She had not just been stealing my packages, she had been keeping the items as souvenirs. Holy crap, Mike whispered beside me. She has been collecting everything. We watched as Diane, still standing on her coffee table, called someone in his panic. Barbara, there is a snake in my house. A snake? It was in a package. She paused, listening. What do you mean? What package? The watch box from that new neighbor's porch. The one I told you about yesterday. Mike and I exchanged shocked looks. She was freely admitting to the theft. I do not care if it is illegal, Diane continued, unaware she was incriminating herself. There is a snake on my $3,000 rug. That was our cue. I grabbed Meryl's carrier and we headed for Diane's front door. Time to help our frustrated neighbor with her snake problem and retrieve some stolen property. While we were at it, as I rang her doorbell, could still hear her frantic voice through the door. I am telling you, Barbara, this is deliberate. That new homeowner knows I have been taking the packages. This is assault with a deadly creature. Have you ever witnessed someone accidentally admit to something because they were too panicked to filter themselves? The look on Diane's face when she opened her door to find me standing there with the snake carrier was absolutely priceless. The color drained from Diane's face when she opened her door to find me standing there with the snake carrier behind her. I could see Meryl peacefully exploring the edge of an expensive-looking rug. You, she gasped, clutching her pearls, literally clutching actual pearls around her neck. You did this deliberately. Did what, Diane? I asked calmly, holding up the carrier. Just here to help with your snake situation. My friend is a herpetologist. I motioned to Mike, who stood professionally behind me. We heard you screaming all the way down the street. Before she could respond, two neighbors appeared behind us. Curious about the uproar, Diane tried to close the door, but one neighbor, Tom, from 3 doors down, had already spotted. "Meryl, is that a snake in your living room?" he asked, peering inside. "It came in a package," Diane blurted, still shaken. "A package I found on my porch." I raised an eyebrow. "That is odd, because my doorbell camera shows you taking that package from my porch about an hour ago." I held up my phone, showing the footage. "And correct me if I am wrong, but is not mail theft a federal crime?" Look of understanding on her face was something I will treasure forever. She knew she was caught, not just by me, but in front of onlookers. "I was protecting it," she stammered. "As homeowner association president, it is my duty to secure packages that might be exposed to rain in your house," Tom asked skeptically. "And what about all those other packages on your shelf? Those look like the shoes Mark was worried about losing. Last month, more neighbors were gathering." Now, Mike slipped past Diane to retrieve Meryl, who came to him willingly. But everyone's attention had shifted to the visible collection of open packages and items displayed like prizes. In her living room. "Those are my things," Diane insisted weakly. "I ordered them, really?" I stepped forward, pointing. "So why does that doormat have my last name on it?" What followed was both gratifying and a little sad. Police were called, not by me, but by Barbara, Diane's friend, who had heard everything over their still-connected phone call and realized how critical the situation had become. 2 officers arrived, one of them the same one who had dismissed my initial complaint. "Got that evidence you needed?" I told him with a slight grin as he surveyed Diane's collection of stolen items. The aftermath was quick. Diane was not taken away in handcuffs. Real life rarely works that dramatically, but she was charged with multiple counts of mail theft. The officers photographed everything in her house, and neighbors began identifying their missing items. My sneakers, Tom's anniversary gift for his wife, the Martinez family's custom Christmas ornaments. It turned out Diane had been helping herself to packages throughout the neighborhood for over 2 years. The homeowner association held an emergency meeting the following week. Diane did not attend. Her lawyer advised against it, but nearly everyone else in the neighborhood showed up. The vote to remove her as president was decisive. To my surprise, several people nominated me to fill the vacant position. "You have got a good head on your shoulders," Tom told me, "and you clearly care about neighborhood fairness." I accepted more out of a desire to revise the homeowner association rules than any power trip. The first change we made was establishing a neighborhood watch specifically for package protection. As for Diane, she sold her house 3 months later and moved to a condo community across town. I heard through the grapevine that she is now known as the Snake Lady at her new residence, a reputation that spread faster than she could outrun it. Meryl returned to the sanctuary and was eventually transferred to her new home, where she became part of an educational program teaching children about wildlife. Mike sends me updates occasionally, and I donated part of the money from Diane's court-ordered restitution to the sanctuary's conservation projects. Sometimes I think about what drove Diane to steal from her own neighbors. What void she was trying to fill with all those stolen items she rarely even used. We found most of them still with tags on, collected, like some kind of weird collection system. The snake trick might seem extreme to some, but I sleep well knowing I did not actually hurt anyone, just created a memorable lesson about karma. And every time a package arrives safely on my porch, now I smile, thinking about how sometimes justice comes with scales and a flickering tongue. If you enjoyed this neighborhood revenge story, you will probably love the playlist that is appearing on your screen right now with similar tales of justice served. The one about the neighbor who kept parking in someone else's assigned spot is particularly amusing. Let us just say it involves an oversized tub of Vaseline and some very confused car robbers.